To begin, let's create a new folder and we'll call this one audio. Then we'll create another folder and it will be called menus. Now for our audio, I've imported a toggle sound and I also imported a wind sound, which will be used for our music toggles. We will first create a pop-up panel. Then we will add a VBox container. Then we will add a panel container. Then we will add a margin container. Then we will add an HBox container. And then we'll add a checkbox. We can just put in the text as full screen. And then we can go on to duplicate this panel container here. And we will rename this one to sound settings. And then this one to video settings. Oh, wrong one. And then remove the checkbox here. Change type into a VBox container. I did so by right-clicking and then going under the rename to change type. And then we will add a label. Then we will add a slider. For this one, I'm using a horizontal slider. And then we can duplicate these. So I've renamed these to game slider and music slider. Then what we'll want to do is add a normal audio stream player and duplicate it. Name this one to sound effects and name this one to music. We will then go to audio, then add a bus, and then add another bus. This one will be our music, and this one will be our sound effects. Save the scene under menus, and save it as pop-up menu. Next, what we'll want to do is go into sound settings and then add a new script. And then we will want to go to video settings and add a new script as well. After doing so, we'll want to make sure that we have our game slider, go into node, and then we will double click on value changed, and then we'll connect to the sound settings. Then under music slider, we'll go on value change as well for the node, and then we'll connect to sound settings. So what we'll want to do first is just remove this over here. Then we will initialize some export variables. This will be sound effect audio name. It'll be :string equal to a string. We can just copy and paste this. And instead we'll have music audio name. Then we'll initialize some onReady variables. OnReady var sound effect player is equal to, and I'll just copy and paste this. What you can do though is go to your wanted node and then you can right click on it, and around here you'll be able to go down and copy node path, or you can also do Control-Shift-C to control or to get the path. Then we'll get our music player. Then we'll get our slider. So we'll get our game slider for the game sound effects. And then we will get our music slider. After doing so, we can go down to our first function, type variable audio index is equal to audio server dot get bus index, and then we'll put our sound effect audio name. Next, we'll do if value is greater than game slider dot min value. Then we will set our volume decibel as linear to decibel of our value. And then we'll have the audio server get the bus mute, so if it is muted or not, and then we'll get our audio index, and then we'll put in false as our bool. Then we'll put audio server dot set bus volume decibel, and then audio index, then volume decibel. Then for our else statement, we're going to set this part to true, as the value of the slider is less than the minimum, so that means it is muted. Then for our sound effects player, we will just play the audio. Down here, we could copy and paste this all over here, but instead we will change this to music player instead. And then we will also set our music slider here instead of our game slider. Next, we'll want to go over to our checkbox, then go to toggled, double click it, and then connect it to video settings. We can remove all this, and then we can do the following. If button pressed, since this is a bool, we can set that. Then display server dot window set mode, display server dot window mode full screen. Be sure that this is all capitalized here. And then else, we can copy and paste this, but instead we will set this to window mode windowed. And finally, we will just add a done button. So under the VBox container, we will add a button. And under the inspector, we can just type done for the text. And then we'll create a script for our pop-up panel. Remove all this. And then we can go under our button, click on node, and then click on pressed. And then under the script here, we will type visible is equal to false. We will then add in our ready function, and then we'll automatically set visible equal to false. Just in case, if there's usually a bug associated with this, but it'll sometimes activate the visibility even though it's not supposed to. But this will allow us to keep it off. We will then add a main menu. So we will just create a new control node, and then we will type in main menu. Then we will add a margin container. We will add a panel. Then underneath the margin container, we will add a VBox, and then another VBox. And then we will add a label. This will just be the title of our game. So Godot 4 RPG. Then we will add another VBox, and these will be our buttons. Then we will add a button and just duplicate them. This one will be our play button. This one will be our settings button. And this one will be our quit button. And then lastly, we will add in, by instantiating, our pop-up panel. and be sure that it is automatically turned off of its visibility. Then we'll do Control Save or Control S, and then we will save this as main menu under our menus folder. And we can also set the visibility of our margin container by clicking here, and then we can click on the middle. We want to create a new script under our main menu. And then when doing so, we can just remove this. And then we can do onReady var settings panel is equal to pop-up panel. And then we will add some buttons. So we can add in for our first button, which I will rename to play, this one to settings, this one to quit. We'll go under our play button, click on node, and then click on pressed. And then we will type get tree dot. Now be sure to get this right because they changed it from Godot 4, which is to change scene to file. There's no longer change scene. And then we just put our world here. We can then go into settings, and then we can do the same thing. For this one, however, we will do settings panel dot pop-up centered. There are multiple other functions that I'll allow you to manipulate the panel. Lastly, there's the quit, and then we can just type get tree dot quit. So one last thing, we'll go under project settings, and then under run, we'll click on the folder there, and then we'll go to menus and then click on main menu. Before we continue, we need to go on to pop-up panel, then under sound effects, we'll add our sound effects sound, which will be under our audio folder, and then I can drag and drop here. And then we can go under music, drag and drop our music or our sound that we're using for it. And as you can see, we can hear it just fine. We will then go on to our sound settings, and then we will add in our bus names. For sound effects, we'll have SFX, and then we'll have music for our music audio. Then under sound effect and music, we'll change the buses here to their respective counterparts. Now, depending on how loud your sounds are, you may want to change them. In this case, I have a bit of a loud sound, so I will just set it to less decibels, and I'll do so for the sound of the wind. So now that we're actually in, we can click on settings, and then our toggles work. Then we can press play, and then we can load into our world. Thank you all for watching. Hope this video has been very useful for you. If it has, please leave a like and a comment or a suggestion, and I will see you guys in the next video.